Well, hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Island Church Weekly Podcast. We are back, as always, joined by Dr. Will McRaney. Pastor Will, how you doing today?
Just good, man. How about yourself? Going to be a little windy today.
I think windy and a little bit rainy. We're battening down the hatches and making sure we're all good to go so we don't blow away. But I think we'll be okay. That's for sure. Well, give us a little update on how's this weekend at Island Church. I know we recently kicked off a new series talking about pursuing God. Give us a little bit of a rundown of this past weekend.
It was another good week, Matt. We did begin that series on pursuing God, pursuing the King, the kingdom, His kingdom, and His ways. And we're starting this year, particularly the mini series. That's going to be kind of our theme for the whole year. But this particular series we're in right now is first things first.
Yeah.
And so if you've been out there and somehow you've not been in the last couple of weeks, I would just encourage you to go back and listen to those last two messages. I just believe that based on the feedback we've gotten, it's a good way to begin your new year. It's a good way to begin to take a kind of a spiritual inventory and what am I putting the first things first again in my life. And so I would just encourage people to do that. And so, and then this past week we looked up and I'm down front and I see some guests on the front row on the other side. And before the service hardly gets going, they're coming around and sitting right behind me. I'm not sure if they sat on the front row on my side, but we had guests way down front this week. So we had quite a number of guests here, and several of the new families that were with us are new to the area. They weren't just out of town, and so that was a good thing. And so we made connections and we put our heads together because we can't talk to everyone. Between Sandy and I and Stacy and some other people connected, Tom and Jane. And we're good to have Tom and Jane back. But it was a good week, and people just were really responsive again. The worship time was really just outstanding as well too. So it was a good week in terms of Island Church and our looking towards our future and just kicking off a new year.
Awesome. Sounds great. Sounds like it was a really, really good one. So give us a little bit of a look ahead with some of the things coming up for the church. I know it's kind of started the new year. Something that got kicked off last year was the idea of kind of a yearly renewal of our membership and kind of some of the commitments to the church. Can you speak a little bit to that and some of the other exciting stuff coming up at the church?
I'll be happy to. We kicked off a couple of years ago, a ministry covenant. And so when we have people to connect with our church, whether it's renewed their commitment or for the year, or it's a new commitment, we try to make an emphasis to this in January. And they're really committing to kind of grow in the hard attitudes. None of us have arrived. We're not going to do them perfectly, but we're going to keep trying to do them. And they're in the back of our bulletin every week. And we put them, I try to do some preaching on them every year. And so those are big things. The first four relate to how we relate to one another as individuals so that we can enjoy church life. And then the last three deal with how do we relate to the church itself, the body. And so again, so that we can enjoy church life. I mean, church life can be kind of miserable if you're in situations where people aren't relating well and things get sideways, and we don't want that. I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to bump into people, but this is a good thing. And actually, the good news is it works at work and at home and every other place in terms of how you relate to people. And so we've got this ministry, this membership covenant. And so I would encourage every single person, whether you're renewing your membership over this next month, or you're considering joining. Maybe some of the people have been engaged with us for months. They would say, "This is my church." But it's a difference in crossing the line. And last week I did talk about in the message as a part of it, I talked about the importance of being connected with a church, the right type of church, one that encourages you, one that causes you to grow spiritually, or at least allows you the opportunity to grow spiritually, and gives you not just encouragement, but also when necessary, it could provide a word of counsel or correction if it's necessary. And so we really need a church family. That's one of the most important decisions a person could ever make. And we talked about, just as we played on this NCAA football game, we had a national championship game here this week. And we talked about being anti-transfer portal. And so in a church life, often when God is working on us, even through difficult people or difficult situations. And if we leave those, we may not be the blessing to someone else, or we may not learn what God has to teach us. And so actually not just dating the church, but actually crossing the line. You got to decide to run the race and run with the team, and that your team needs to be your church family. And not just that, get involved in a small group. We got the women's group going and the men's group going. We've got various life groups going because who you're around, we become like the people that we're around. Probably the people that your five closest friends are the people you're going to be most like. And
Yeah.
so I said, "You're not trying to cancel friends. You just may have
Yeah.
to add some new friends."
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
so
That's
that's it.
awesome.
That's kind of that'll be an emphasis. So this the next several weeks we're going to be looking at um, pursuing the King. What does that
Yeah.
look like? Pursuing the kingdom. How do we pursue God? How do we pursue His kingdom? What is that like? And then how do we pursue His ways? I actually have good news. Just as a little side note, is that on January 28th, my friend Colonel Bob Rogers, who one time was the Army planner for the United States Army, he's done all types of special forces and operations around the world,
Yeah.
most of which can't talk about. But he's going to be with us, and he's going to be talking about uh, something about putting something first. And he's
Cool.
going to be sharing. He at one time was the CFO for the Southern Baptist Convention Executive Committee. He just got quite a track record, both in his military life, long career there, and then in serving the Lord and serving actually Baptist people as well. And so he'll be with us on January 28th. So
Awesome.
that's upcoming. That's a good thing. And we've already begun planning for Easter.
Yep. We have. Yeah.
Sunrise, the Easter egg hunt and sunrise service. Before you know it, it'll be here. But that's for everybody else. Don't have to worry about that.
Well, Pastor Will, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us today. Thanks for casting some vision about what's next for the church. And for all of you watching at home, thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we will see you again next week.